So let's talk about a question that, or a sensation that I think a lot of you writers and authors have had before. I had an author friend reach out the other day, and they asked me, what do I do if I hate my book or hate what I'm writing? Like, and as he just described, what if I hate all 100K plus of what I've done? And here's what I had to say. And I think a lot of you guys could use this advice a little bit. The question was, do you really hate it, right? And I've written a lot. I've been writing for a long time. And at the beginning of my writing career, I did a lot of ghostwriting. The only time I hate is a strong word. It's a very strong word. I didn't care for a project I worked on as a ghostwriter because it wasn't my story, and it's not supposed to be as a ghostwriter. It's someone else's story. I'm sort of like the artist being commissioned to do a thing, and I would have advanced the romance so much quicker. There was a lot of things I would have done differently, but it wasn't my story. I was simply using my skills to help someone tell their story. But despite disliking or borderline hating that story, and of course I wrote this over a decade ago, hit the Amazon's top 10 list and stayed there in its niche for over 3 years and had over a 4.0 rating with thousands, not hundreds, thousands of ratings and reviews. So the readers loved it. Because you hate how the story ended up being doesn't necessarily make it a bad story. It's just a story, not the story you thought you were writing. Or it could be that the story is something that made choices that made you uncomfortable or awkward. Now, when it comes to my own stories, my own content, and you've heard me talk about my characters, my worlds, I adore every aspect of my stuff that I do work on and publish for myself. And I don't think I've ever hated something I've written or created, but it has been more of this awkward, uncomfortable, like a coworker with bad body odor and BO, right? Like, something stinks. It is obviously you, and you need to fix it. And if I could just figure out what that is that you're not doing that you should be doing, right? It's sort of like that. And that's something to be mindful of. It could be, and in most cases, and this can cause a lot of writer's block, but if you're able to force yourself through a story and you've made choices that doesn't align with the world or the characters or the plot that needs to be told because it made you uncomfortable, that might be why. You might have to go back and rewrite those sections and make the choice that the character, the world, or the plot wants you to make. And a lot of times that writing could be uncomfortable, it could be awkward. But I guarantee you, if you force it because of your personal feelings on the matter, because books are supposed to make us uncomfortable sometimes. I mean, dark fantasy is a great example, right? We're constantly throwing things, that are uncomfortable for you. I'm reading Jennifer Armentrout's From Blood and Ash, right? There are so many instances, even in the first 10 chapters of that book, that you're constantly feeling uncomfortable. And I'm sure Jennifer felt that uncomfortableness, but your story is telling you it needs to be in place, because when it really matters, when the climax happens or there's major character development moments happen, those awkward moments and those hard to swallow choices that you've had to write and make can only make the story stronger. But it's hard. And it can make you dislike your story because you've had to make choices, or you made choices against what the story is. And that's something you're going to have to come, it's like your come to Jesus moment with the novel or story you're working with. And you have to decide if you're telling the story for yourself, or if you're intending to share a tale that has come to you and you just want to give it life. And I'm more of the latter, right? I like the idea that I have zero control. I have crazy characters that I would never imagine. I don't know where they come from. They just show up, and I feel like I'm some sort of stalker, just recording what they're doing half the time when I write. And I want my readers to feel that way too. So there's a lot of choices and things that happen in my stories that don't align with my own morality and belief systems. But that's what the story calls for. That's what the character called for. And I'm okay with that. So if you hate your work or what you're working on your book, take a step back. Decide, is it well written? Let the readers decide then. Send it to some beta readers, see how they feel, see if they see anything broken with it. And if they don't, it could be just not your cup of tea for a story, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad story and it won't do well. And also keep in mind that you may have made choices or forced or downplayed an aspect of your story that didn't quite give it the oomph it needed. And you're going to have to go back and bite the bullet and open those Pandora boxes up and let them thrive like they intended, and see if your story feels better. And a lot of times as you do that, you will feel better as you're like, yeah, now this other part feels, the part that I care about feels much better and it's stronger. But yeah, your book's going to take you uncomfortable places, so be prepared for that.